Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest gaming news of the past week. This is episode 315. I am your host, Sean Hayes. And boy, oh boy, it was New York City Comic-Con going on right now. So there were some announcements. I know Comic-Con is usually more focused on comics and shows than it is games, since games are usually saving their announcements for like PAX or Gamescom. I think is the big de facto one now. Now that E3 is no longer a thing. But yeah, we've got a couple announcements from that, and Xbox did a partner showcase, so we've got some info from some exciting info from that. One thing I didn't have in the news, but because it's kind of an ongoing thing, is that as part of their marketing process, Wizards has been doing videos of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I think I talked about this week. But one of the little tidbits is that the Dungeon Master's Guide that's coming out is the last book that Chris Perkins will be a design lead on. And that's a little sad. I do like Perkins as a DM and the work that he's done. And he did say he gave significant contributions to the Monster Manual and the starter set and the books that are coming out next year. But his final product lead credit is on the DMG. So I don't know if this means he's looking at retirement pretty soon. I do recall that he did an episode of Between the Sheets, which is no longer available due to the host. But Between the Sheets was like oh my good interview series. I forgot the word interview. Yeah, it was an interview series where they did like a bunch of people related to Critical Role, and it was done by Critical Role. So like the cast and then a bunch of like show adjacent people. And Chris Perkins was one of them. But on that show, he talked about like when he retires, he's just kind of gonna disappear. Like that's his goal, is to not transition to another job or anything in the industry. He's just done, and he'll probably just retreat to some sort of seaside cottage and then just be offline. And you know what? I mean, good for him, but it is a little sad. I do wonder if he will remain involved with Acquisitions Incorporated in his full capacity. I could certainly imagine that that would be a lot less pressure to be able to just do that a couple times a year instead of having to then also do like a regular day job kind of a thing. But so yeah, little sad, but that is the problem with time, folks, is that it always keeps moving forward. So, all right, how about we get into this week's news? So first up, some fun news. Polygon reports that Hades 2 received a big update. I believe it was the Olympus update or Olympic update. It features a new region, new weapons, and all sorts of new characters in the game. I have not played Hades 2. It's still in early access. I have made the conscious decision to not play, despite loving Hades, because I just want to experience it in its finished form. I do own it, but yeah, No, everything that I've heard about this game is fantastic. And the fact that like when it first launched into early access, that according to the press, um, like it was already bigger than Hades 1. So I'm like, the fact that we started at that point and now we're getting more stuff, that's awesome. So I mean, I don't know. At the same time, maybe maybe when I clear some of my backlog out, I'll give it a shot in early access and see how it is for me. But yeah, I mean, Supergiant seems to have another hit on its hands. So I think they're still looking at a 2025 target release date. So yeah, good. Best of luck to Supergiant. Really excited for this game to come out. So next up, some contentious news. Polygon also reports Wizards of the Coast revealed an upcoming secret lair to the alluded to. So they have talked about this before, is that they were doing a partnership with Marvel. So they're doing a secret lair that I think is coming out next month. They revealed this at New York City Comic Con. The cards in the secret lair will include so how they typically do secret lairs is you get like bundles of 5 cards. So this one will just be entirely Marvel. So all of the bundles will be Marvel related. So there will be a Captain America card with 4 related cards. There will be a Black Panther card with related cards, Iron Man, Storm, and Wolverine. So those will be the 5 bundles. Captain America, much like Guile in the Street Fighter secret lair, is red, white, and blue. Black Panther is green and white. Iron Man is red and blue, which is because Iron Man's very is-it oriented. Storm is red, green, and blue, and Wolverine is green and red. So a lot of red going on in this secret lair. A lot of red and a lot of green, actually. But yeah. So Wolverine, I know he has Regenerate. They brought Regenerate back for him for a very fitting thing. Storm gives cards Storm. I think Iron Man is an artifact creature. Black Panther does a thing where it's when you play cards, you put counters on your lands, and then when like I forget the trigger, but then when a trigger happens, I think it's when you do stuff, you put counters on lands. But then when you play a creature, you can move all the counters from that land onto that creature. And Captain America is all about like equipping stuff to him, and then throwing it. So, yeah, they're all interesting. In order to get the full set, you will likely have to spend about $200, which is gross. So I don't know. It's a thing where I don't know if I'd be interested in building a deck with any of the. I mean, maybe Wolverine, but like I already have a Gruul deck. I already have a red-green deck. I don't know. Maybe a Captain America equipment deck, but yeah. It's just and I think that is the $200 is the non-foil price. So that means it just gets more expensive if you want them in shiny foils. Typically, I do play with secret lair cards. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would play with these enough to warrant buying them. And then of course, then it begs the question of these are unique cards. So are they going to see Universes Within reprints? There's also, everybody who already hates Secret Lair is, definitely coming out of the woodwork for Marvel. since it's also popular to hate on Marvel. So, yeah, it's a very also interesting case is for I don't know, because the way the comics have been going is they've been making the characters look more like their MCU counterparts. Is I don't know if these are made intentionally to look like MCU or not. But it seems like they look closer to those counterparts than instead of doing a reimagining like they did with Lord of the Rings. So at least we won't have to deal with that conversation. So yeah, I believe it comes out next month. So if you're looking for the whole set, $200. Actually, that might be the foil price. Because that would mean they're about $40 a pack, which is the foil price. So unless they only make them in foil, but I don't know. So yeah, so it might be like $160 if you get them in all non-foil. That does make it a little more palatable, but like I also haven't played Commander all that much. I've been playing Lorcana instead, and if I'm gonna drop that much money on cards, I'd rather drop it on Lorcana cards to help my deck out. So yeah, but we're starting to see this. I don't know if the Secret Lair is just gonna be the Secret Lair, or if they're gonna. I thought they were gonna do like a full set or a Commander set. So we'll have to see. This may just be like a teaser product. But yeah, so that announcement. So all of and they did show all of the artwork. I think the artwork's very good. I mean, some other cards are in there. Heroic Intervention is definitely in there for Black Panther. Lightning Bolt is in there for Storm. I think it's they made like an altar of Sword of Truth and Justice, I think, as a shield for Cap's shield. Yeah. I don't and there was I forget which one it is, but it's one of the instants that you can play for free if you have a commander. I don't remember if it's not Fierce Guardianship. Or maybe it is Fierce Guardianship. So yeah. One of those highly sought after cards is going to be in the Secret Lair. So yeah. But yeah, particularly if you play any sort of combination that includes red, there will be some value in this. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see when it comes out. Also, there's no mention if it's going to be a limited run or not, or if it's going to be a freely printed one, or if it's going to be print on demand. Because lately the past couple have been limited runs, so whether you get it or not might not matter, or it might not be a factor of whether you want it or not. You might not be able to get it regardless. So yeah. All right. Done talking about Magic and Marvel. Because next up, GamesIndustry.biz reports Microsoft settled its antitrust case. So, I guess this was kind of the expected outcome, at least from Microsoft's perspective, because I know they would rather just pay a bunch of money and agree to terms and get it done and over with. Yeah, I guess I can't remember if it's the SEC or the FTC that had filed it. A little surprised they did, but I guess, I don't know if they're looking at or what term. So we don't know what terms are set as part of the settlement. But the antitrust case is over the Activision Blizzard acquisition. um, and as a result, both parties have asked the case to be dismissed with prejudice, which means that the case can't be taken up again. So this is done. So my guess is there's probably, so again, not a legal expert. I don't have any info on this. This is just speculation. Normally I don't like to do it, but realistically, I could see some sort of assurances in there that like a certain number of titles are kept on the platforms that they currently exist on, to ensure that Microsoft doesn't just like pull all licensing agreements. Yeah, I think that's probably the only thing in there that I think would matter all that much. And I mean, there's probably like a bunch of money involved, like in paying some sort of settlement fee. Yeah. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe some sort of like we're going to keep an eye on you for laying off even more people. So yeah, I don't know, or maybe I don't know, some sort of assurances that stuff will remain as available as it was before. So, which like I mean that already kind of fits Microsoft's plan anyway. So I think that's why this has been an agreeable thing for them. Like, I mean, when Phil Spencer goes out and says like we want to put we want to put Game Pass on every platform, like that kind of fits with making it accessible to as many users as possible. So yeah, granted it does require Game Pass, but it doesn't prevent people from accessing it. And that's really like what the FTC was looking at in terms of consolidation is they look at what is anti-consumer. And so if a company is still making it as available as it was before, and if it's on Game Pass, like even if it's just a nominal fee increase, like that's not like there's the internet will screech about being anti-consumer if you have to pay $10 extra, but like that's typically not the level of anti-consumer practices that the FTC is looking at when looking at these kind of antitrust stuff. Because, otherwise Disney would not have been able to buy up everything in the past couple of years as it has been. Yeah, price increases are generally like, unless it's egregious, and I mean really egregious, like with the pharmaceutical industry, the FTC usually doesn't get involved for anti-consumer stuff. So, but this will be, unless terms of the settlement come out, this will be the last we hear of it. So, next up, speaking of Xbox and Microsoft, I talked about this, the partner showcase. So there were a couple of titles that were announced, but the one that I want to touch on the most is Subnautica 2. Now, I was a bit confused because I thought Subnautica 2 just meant Subnautica Below Zero, and apparently it doesn't. Subnautica 2 is a different game. So I was like, wait, this game's already out. Like, how is it in early access? And yeah, they're making a big deal about it coming to Xbox and PC when it already is. No, new game, new planet. It will feature up to 4-player co-op, which I'm very excited about, even though I will have nobody to play with. So, and the art features a big ol' octopus type monster. So some sort of new Leviathan, but a much more, squid kraken like Leviathan than, because that was like the Reaper Leviathan, the Sea Dragon Leviathan, and all that stuff. Like, it has kind of a Kraken-esque feel to it, just because like their lower halves are tentacles. or slash arms, but this case, this is a much more classical, like giant squid type monster. And I feel like that is more terrifying. Actually, you know what? The Leviathans in Subnautica Below Zero didn't have that. So I take that back. So it was just in the first game. But yeah, Below Zero, I actually can't remember the names, but it's basically the danger shrimp. That one didn't have any tentacles. It was just a big old shrimp with a hooked bill. And then whatever the giant sea centipede looking thing down in the crystal depths in Below Zero. But yeah, in the first game they had all tentacles and arms and stuff, but also had like upper body arms. Whereas this is like a much, more traditional kraken, octopus, giant squid, colossal squid type thing. So yeah, I'm excited. I love Subnautica. Subnautica stresses me out, but I love it. So very excited to see what comes of this. This will probably be something that I play in early access, just because Subnautica was very fun in early access. So yeah, especially co-op. I'm super excited. Like, if I can convince other people to play with me, I think that'll be very exciting. And I feel like a lot of the stress in the previous two games is mitigated when you have somebody else to play with. It is slated for a 2025 release on PC and Xbox. So, coming up pretty soon. Now, it said that. I don't know if it's early access release in 2025 or if it's full release. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Finally, our last bit of news, GamesIndustry.biz reports that over 700 employees at Ubisoft France walked out on a 3-day strike in protest over the company's return to office mandate, which is to return to office for at least 3 days a week. This is ever since the pandemic, they've had a sort of fully hybrid remote work policy, and have just started to try and claw back some of that return to office mandates. And I mean, there have been people who were using the freedom of working from home to relocate themselves. And so to have it not be a problem for years and then suddenly start mandating it back means that people are having to uproot themselves. And they're not taking it. So at first I didn't think about that it was a 3-day strike. And I was like, why aren't they just striking for longer? But it makes sense to send a message that, like, this is what this is about. Yeah. Of note, those employees are unionized. So this is, again, talking about the benefits of unionization in the games industry. Is it allows you to do stuff like this to pressure upper management. Because, like, there have been walkouts in the past, but like Blizzard's had a couple walkouts before. But when you are able to organize like that and organize like, no, we're going to do this for longer if need be, and put protections in place for the people that do it, I think is able to promote workers' rights a lot better. So, yeah. Also, Ubisoft, if you've been working just fine without requiring a return to office mandate, then don't mandate a return to office. More industries should follow suit, because we all know that forcing people to be in the office is just because you're paying for real estate and you feel stupid for paying for real estate when it's not being used. Instead of being smart and saying, okay, how do we utilize this space better? Or how do we reduce our footprint if we don't need all this space? You don't let you refuse to set your ego aside and actually do what's best for the company and for your workers. So, yeah, get over it, management. Yeah, that's a case where, yeah, it's a little bit more commentary that I tend to provide. But, yeah, unionization, workers' rights, it matters. Matters to me. So, but yeah, just another thing happening with Ubisoft lately, which I believe it was last week. I don't know if it was in the podcast news or if it was just an article that I shared, but yeah, they're talking about like going back to being privately owned, of just like pulling all of its doing a stock buyback and then taking the company private once again and no longer being publicly traded. So yeah. Like it's a wild ride over there right now. So, well, that is going to wrap things up for this week. Thank you all for joining me. If you would like to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, you can check out our website at 8-bitadventures.com. If you would like to help support that content, the best way to do that is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all of my current patrons for your continued support. Patrons can get benefits for as little as $1 a month. Like that's where it starts. The floor is much lower for that than it is for other platforms. So of note, Patreon is changing how subscriptions are processed starting in November. So this is just mostly for Insider Baseball for current patrons. So as of November 1st, you will be charged based on when you originally signed up instead of on the 1st. So normally the way Patreon is set up now, or at least my Patreon is set up now, is everybody gets charged on the 1st. This instead will charge patrons like every 30 days or 31 days or whatever. So basically charge them on the same date every month based on when you signed up. Okay. So that's just a PSA, or for new patrons who come in who are used to first of the month billing, that is a change that's going into effect. You can thank Apple for that one. But yeah, so again, thank you for all your continued support. If you would like to, I already did that. Our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. Go show him some support. Great chiptune artist. And with that, we are finished for this week. So, as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.